All right, I want to thank you guys for coming to the first episode of Back to the Drawing Board with Goldenboybrian. This is a brand new podcast. It's about art, it's about artists, exploring the creativity of the up and coming pillars of visual art. I would like to welcome our first guest of the podcast, the man himself, the rabbit, the shape-shifting rabbit, the BZ killer, MC Mike Thriller, Splat Rabbit.
Hey, yo, what is happening, everybody? What is going on?
How are you doing today, sir?
Man, I'm feeling good. I'm getting over a cough, so if I sound a little bit weird or I get to coughing or something like that, just know I'm in recovery, but I'm good. I'm good. We're
It's
gonna
all
keep it
good,
rolling.
sir. It's all good. It's all good. I'm so happy you're here. This is a long overdue interview, I think.
I reckon so. I reckon so.
So let's just start off right from the beginning. First, I just want to clear the air, as this is not technically the first time that we have ever met. If you recall, there
Oh no.
actually is a little piece of history that I've pulled up between the two of us, and it is this comic right here. Okay, this comic of me and you.
Oh man,
So
throwback.
this is Chef Bug Rub saying, "Man, Splat, it's so nice that we get to enjoy these vanilla cones together." And then it's us looking at an atomic bomb, and you saying, "Amen, Chef, amen." A really beautiful moment between friends, I think. What do you think?
Truly, truly, man, what an era, what a time.
What a
We'll get
time!
into that probably. We'll probably get into that sometime during the
Yeah,
stream,
yeah.
but hey.
The first thing that I wanna talk to you here about is I happen to have a copy of your new comic, Splatddycomix, Splat Rabbit Move Forward. As you can see right here, there you go. Nice big view
Check
of it.
that out. Check
Um,
that
so
out. Check it
why don't you
out.
tell the people a little bit about what Splat Rabbit Moves Forward is?
So Splat Rabbit Moves Forward is a pilot mini comic for the current version of the series. It's a fighting comic that's about revenge. It's about proving yourself. It's about love. It's about so many things. But for this particular comic, we decided to scale it back. Test the waters, see if people like this new concept, this new direction that Splat was going. And so you have to check it out. It's available digitally almost everywhere. It's even on TikTok. I put it on the TikTok
You put it
slides.
on the TikTok. We love to see
On the
that.
TikTok slides, we had to spread it
We
around.
love to
I'm
see that.
considering putting it on DeviantArt because I'm on there now too. But that may be, I don't know. Them DeviantArt kids kind of scare me.
Before we continue, where can people find your art and everything like that?
Primarily, you can find it on Instagram, X, Twitter, whatever you're calling it these days, YouTube, TikTok. And like I said, I've got a few other smaller accounts that I kind of, just keep more for SEO purposes than anything. But if you happen to have DeviantArt or Pixiv or what's the other one, ArtStation, then by all means, go ahead and follow me there if you
And
want
what
to
is that
too.
that at? That's at Splat DDY Comics with an
Yeah,
X.
Splat Daddy Comics. Splat
Okay,
Daddy
nice, nice,
Comics.
nice. So I notice now, having known you and your art for over a couple years now, I would say at least like two years. Um,
About that much, yeah.
what I the first thing that caught my eye with the new comic was the move forward thing. And I think that's kind of the heart of what I wanted to get in this interview with you and talk about what it means moving forward. Why are we moving forward? Where are we going? What's the adventure gonna tell?
Yes, sir. See, you're perceptive. So you knew that there was something else going on there. Well, if for people that have been following me a long time, the comics were um, press kind of political takes on things, and so with moving forward, we want to be more story focused because I think we all realize by now that the Hollywood machine is definitely in need of some WD-40. It is dry. It is, uh, for lack of a better term, you'll have to excuse my French here, but entirely fucked.
Yeah.
So the perspective is to try and just make some entertainment that's for everybody, that reaches across the aisle, even in some cases, and it's just entertaining instead of trying to always talk about something or push a message, because we already have enough of that going on in the world with the big studios and companies and stuff. So
Yeah,
at Splat
exactly.
Daddy Comics, you can expect fun, you can expect good stories, you can expect a creator that just wants to create, doesn't have an agenda with anything in particular. My thoughts and my politics are my thoughts and my politics, and that's how we're going to keep it. It doesn't matter, and we're just going to make quality stories.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I can kind of relate to that as somebody who was also in that sphere, and I want to say that a big inspiration for Chef Bugrub and wanting to make political cartoons was actually seeing your cartoons to begin with. They
Oh
really pushed
man,
me to wanting to pursue doing art again. And when I was a little kid, I actually wanted to be a cartoonist growing up. And ironically, I am kind of doing that in some weird esoteric way, but it's
look at that! I mean, hey, we see it. We see it. Look at this set. Can we get some
yeah,
claps in
it's
chat
beautiful, right?
for Brian's set?
Yes, we could get a little clap going on. This is we're standing on top of a mountain that's actually on a gyroscope overlooking the city, so it's constantly spinning 360 degrees at all time. I paid top dollar for this. Um, no expenses, no expenses paid. This is where we want to be.
Quite
But
the development.
what I wanted to ask you is when did this all start? What was the inception of, I don't necessarily want to say Splat Rabbit, but you as an artist, when did this all come to that the realization that this is what you wanted to do?
I think I've been drawing as long as I can remember, but I think that the time that made me realize that, oh my goodness, I could create something and that could actually be something I could do as a job was when I first read the Naruto manga for the first time, which in retrospect, I have other thoughts on Naruto. It has a soft place in my heart, but there's definitely better anime you can be watching. But nonetheless, the manga got me started. I saw the world, I saw the characters, the development that was there in the first part of the series, and it inspired me. I was like, if you can do this, create worlds, and people are going to love it, and you can make money doing it, that's what I want to do. And
That's
so it was
beautiful.
around that time. That was around age 10 or 11 or so. And so from there, it was just, yeah, I'm going to be a cartoonist. I'm going to make comics. I'm going to get out there.
So I'm assuming pretty much all through from 10 years old forward, it was bringing the notepad to school, drawing as much as you can. I'm assuming that it was something that you did quite frequently, like all the time.
The whole shebang and more, man. I was going to be the next Walt Disney. I was after it. I was reading up on everyone's bios, learned way more about cartoons than anybody really needed to know at that time, and so I was really gung ho about it. And of course, when I got into college and got further beyond, I started to realize that a lot of that stuff was kind of just a pipe dream in a lot of ways, though people
Yeah.
try to talk the opposite. Uh, but it's just been one of those things that has always been a thing. So I keep a sketch pad on me to this day. I go to work with a sketch pad, and I'm constantly trying to come up with the next concept and get stuff perfected and keep stuff going.
Yeah, I think we live in a very good time where you have a lot of things accessible to you for creating the kind of art that you make and I make. We both use Procreate, which is a great
Yes,
program. Um,
best program.
Now, what I was curious about was when you first started making the comics, were you using Procreate the whole time?
Um, trying to no, no, actually, I was using another just random digital art app because when I first started, I didn't have an iPad Pro yet. I just had a regular, garden variety iPad, and you can't get Procreate on a regular iPad. So I ended up getting Procreate later, and kind of took off from there.
Now, how do you feel that that has helped your workflow? For me, a big thing about making art and drawing and things like that is I find having an easy workflow really allows the creativity to be accessible. So how do you feel about Procreate? Do you think it's like probably one of the best programs? Do you think there's better ones or
I mean, there's definitely better ones out there if you want to get like really technical with it and really go into it. But for me, Procreate just it gets the job done. I can take my iPad anywhere and draw a comic up, use the layers, have my panels all out in one project, load it out, get it the way I want it to. All kinds of different things to kind of help you along with your line work and with color values and grading and everything like that. So for me, it's just the ultimate go-to tool. I'm having
yeah.
a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree 100%. I'm kind of the same way. I bring my iPad with me wherever I go. Like I went on a bachelor party like a couple weeks ago and I brought the iPad with and I was actually like waiting in the airport and I was like we were sitting at the airport bar, me and my friends, and I was drawing the bartender and stuff and he thought it was hilarious and like just like random people we were meeting, I was just drawing them up and super quick and so it's a lot of fun the program. I think you can do a lot of quick, easy, fun things with it. So I try to recommend it
Yeah.
to anybody because I get a lot of questions. People ask me, what program do you use? What should I get? And I always tell them just save the money, get an iPad Pro, and just get Procreate because it's easy. There's no subscription. It's just
$10 for life, baby. ten
exactly,
dollars for
exactly.
life.
$10 for life. Um, Another question I wanted to ask you was there's a lot of different art styles out there, but what made you specifically drawn to the idea of making cartoons?
For me, I watched a ton of TV. See, my parents did not allow me or my siblings to watch TV throughout the week, and so if we weren't involved in some sort of sporting thing or scout related thing, it was all TV. It was all TV, all video games. So I watched a ton of movies, watched a ton of cartoons, and so I'm just enamored by Western animation and the possibilities that it can bring. And so over time, as I was collecting, studying my personal favorites, the shows that were on when I was a kid, and getting into new stuff that either was a bit beyond my time, and even some of the stuff that came out as I started kind of aging out of cartoons, as a whole, it was like, yeah, no, this is where I want to be. I want to do tunes because I feel like really, especially in Western animation at its finest, that's where you really begin to like relate to the characters. I feel like with anime, it's more of an aspiring to an ideal, whereas with Western cartoons, there's a lot more relatability. Maybe because we all live here and it's because it was made by people
Yeah.
that are similar in value to us. But all the same, I just feel like there's just a power that Western animation has to connect to people on a deeper level. And so that's kind of what I hope comes across with some of my work and what people kind of see moving forward as we tell more stories and get into more Splat stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like Western cartoons, it's more about like the characters and each episode, the situation kind of gets solved. Whereas like the Eastern cartoons and the animes and stuff, they're more of an overall story arc and you see the development
Right.
go on. But that's one thing I also like about Western cartoons is the characters are always very relatable. Like
Yeah.
whether or not you like Family Guy, like I could still watch Family Guy and like laugh because I know somebody who's like Peter Griffin. um, oh, here's something I also wanted to touch on. So Splat Rabbit moves forward. I was reading the bio on it. You're planning on making a cartoon, like a full animated cartoon. Is that correct?
No, actually, not the full animated cartoon, but that is just the pilot mini comic. That's just like the teaser, kind of like showing you the general vibe and what we're kind of going for with this story. If the interest is there, which I'm starting to think it kind of is. Um, and so from there, what we plan on doing is actually putting out books and putting out the floppies each chapter, and just putting those out. I'm thinking more and more that it's probably going to be put out digitally for free. And if you want to buy the chapter physically, you can get it that way. But I definitely want to go into the kind of the crowdfunding side of things too. When we have about 7 chapters or so, we could put it in a Tonka bomb and put it out there, sell it that way. And but either way, what I want to do is tell a bigger story. I want to tell a full narrative. I want it to be a multi-chapter arc. I want it to tell a big expanding story, kind of similar to how I felt. I want to give the same feeling that Naruto gave to me back in the day to maybe a new generation of kids and maybe even some adults who may like it. And so yeah, that's what you can look forward to, and that's what you would be supporting if you come to the Splatddycomix headquarters and take a look around.
Yeah, that's very exciting. I really like that. I am interested in getting one of those physical copies. I think that would look great in my room during streams and things like that.
I'm so glad to hear you say that because I'm looking into getting Splat Rabbit Moves Forward some physical copies very soon. So look out for that.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get you plugged up with the people when those are ready to come out. Um, so what are some things? So I've seen the develop of Splat Rabbit, and I've seen the different arcs that you've tried to do, like especially with the girl arc, um, which I really enjoyed that one. I thought it was really good. Um, but I could tell that you struggled at times to figure out where you wanted to go with it. Um,
Yeah,
which when you're creating a story like that, and for people that don't make comics, it's hard to like make something that's finished and then continue on after it. It's kind of like what Hollywood does when they just decide to make a bunch of sequels for a movie that was totally fine being a one and done. So
yeah.
so what do you do when you're in a rut? When you're in a rut creatively?
Well, I can tell you that the journey from that one arc I ever actually fully completed till now, you kind of just have to feel your way through it, and you just have to kind of figure out even maybe even figuring out a whole new direction. Because if you keep beating the horse is dead. Can't do anything for you. It can't race. It can't run. It can't eat sugar cubes out of your hand. What are you doing to that horse? You need to get a new horse. That's what you need to do. So that's kind of what I wanted to do, and that's why we decided to move forward because it was time for Spike to get a fresh face and kind of in a familiar territory. I mean, he's been kicking ass this entire time, so why not actually put him in an arena to physically fight people there and involve a little bit of story and action from the get go, so that we can make sure that there's something that always come back to whenever we put out chapters.
Yeah, I'm happy that you're finally wearing pants too. They look good.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, with the pants were comfortable, but also battle ready. It fit the world. It fit the lore. So we're trying that out.
When you're in a rut specifically, what are and let me rephrase this. What are some things that you learned from being in those ruts that you've taken with you moving forward, specifically like with this comic series and maybe some other projects that you're taking on?
Well, I think one of the bigger takeaways was number one, you learn who actually likes you for you as an artist, or who likes your character, who likes what you got going on, who's a true supporter, friend, or fan,
Yeah.
versus who's just lurking because either A, it was popular for a season, or B, they thought it meant something for a larger movement or whatever nonsense comes up there. And so that was huge, seeing the people that did jump over from the original OG account over to the Splatddycomix route. And the support has been amazing, and I appreciate that from all those people. And for the people who didn't stick around, it's like, yeah, I mean, you're welcome back, but at the same time, this is what it is now. Don't ask too many questions. And but outside of that too, um, you find a lot of time to kind of hone your craft, and the time away from I guess the limelight per se has given me time to actually focus on what kind of story do I want to tell? What angle do I want to take? Where do we want to go with this next? It's allowed me, it's really freed me up, really. It's allowed me to not be so confined to a box and instead come up with a much broader stroke that allows me to create a world, that allows me to create new characters and even beef up the old ones. One of my biggest problems in the old thing, and I may be speaking over some people's heads here, but there, I don't know if you remember that character from the
Yeah,
original run. Bear had no purpose after that initial arc, and I struggled with how to implement him into the comics without it just coming off as just kind of lame or contrived or anything like that. But I've actually found a good purpose for Bear in this new run. So old school Splat fans, look out for more Bear in future chapters because he's
that's
coming.
awesome, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, he was a fan favorite. That's why I had to plug him real quick.
So you pretty much walked away from that old Instagram, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So how many followers did you have at like the before I guess you deleted it or at the peak? Like what was the most?
That depends. There was actually two peaks because there was the initial high of 3,000, and I purged that specifically because, again, the affiliations that people have, I guess people thought I was one way, and when they found out that I wasn't always going to toe the water, they were like, "Oh no!" So I was like, "Oh yeah, no, not dealing with this." So I went through and I cut everybody out. I was like, "Get out, leave. Don't want you here. You're kind of mentally deranged. Don't really want to be involved with you." And so that took it down to about 2,500 people. And that's when, I kept trying to put stuff out, trying to fill my way through. Wasn't really feeling it, needed a change. And so from there, it was like, okay, I have my new concept, but I should probably go ahead and just start it all from scratch because, hell, there's only like 50-ish or so people who I know would come over and
Yeah.
would support this new effort. And so, do I want to start this new thing with 2,000 lurkers just on my account not doing anything, or just tell the 50 people, "Hey, we're over here now," and we just all move over? So that's what I ended up doing.
Yeah, and this is why I'm so happy that I'm having this conversation with you because I can 100% relate to what you're saying because Chef Bugrub didn't have as many. Chef Bugrub was my political art cartoon page, just for reference for anybody who doesn't know. It didn't have nearly as many followers. It maybe had like 500, 600, 700 at peak.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of got bored doing it. But I loved the character of Chef, so I wanted to when I started doing this streaming journey, um, and coming over to Kick and things like that. Um, for anybody who's listening on the recording, you guys can listen to this podcast live on kick.com/goldenboybrian. We are here with Splat Rabbit, Splat Daddy
Yo,
Comics. It's exciting
Black
for him to be here,
Daddy.
but it was hard because I had to delete Chef Bugrub because I didn't really, not that anything I was pushing was too obscene, but I really
Yeah.
wanted to rebrand everything to be my own thing, and I wanted Chef to be my mascot with my face on it. So I can totally relate to what you're saying with how people who come along for the ride. I mean, there was maybe like 3 people who followed that page that still like I keep in contact with my personal Instagram, and they were also other artists at the time too.
Yeah.
Um,
Because they're going to relate, and that's kind of a good point there. When you have a good character, and that was kind of one of the pains I went through too. Having this side of the conversation is, I knew that I wanted to kind of get out of the political sphere, but I didn't want to lose Splat because something about that character. Because so many had said like they sometimes they don't even care about the political stuff. They just like the character. The character is appealing to the eye. It reminds them of old times, old cartoons, and so I was like, I don't want to get rid of this character. And just I thank God that he allowed me to create such a useful, like functional character that was able to make the jump. Because some characters that they get pigeonholed, they can never do anything else. But we don't have the benefit of time like say a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle or a Sonic the Hedgehog. So instead, we have to kind of like get it through the mud and like create characters that are flexible and can do it from the jump. And so I think that's kind of the power of characters like Chef and Splat and others.
yeah, multifaceted characters and aesthetically pleasing in a way. As though
Yeah,
our art styles are very different, I think people can appreciate both in the same way.
I think so. There's art is subjective, but it's also there are certain hard truths and certain undeniabilities, and I think that's one of them. A truly versatile, well-rounded character is going to be able to be put in any situation and just rock. Doesn't have to be in a set of parameters. Not to say that those parameters don't make it a bad thing, you know, like a one-off thing is a one-off thing, and we appreciate those characters for what they did in that one-off thing. But for a character to be able to go in multiple directions and do multiple things, that's something truly special. Something that is in a lot of my inspirations. I already mentioned Sonic, but even something like a Bugs Bunny, a Woody Woodpecker, you know, a lot of those old cartoons, really, Popeye the Sailor Man,
Yeah.
um, any situation, but it's just them. They're in it and they go, and that's awesome.
The what was the inspiration originally for Splat Rabbit? Was he always a rabbit? Because I know, like with Walt Disney, for example, Mickey Mouse wasn't always a mouse. He was actually a rabbit at first. So was Splat always a rabbit? What was he?
No, Splat was definitely always a rabbit from the jump. It was kind of a mix of things, and you know, I saw one person who commented, a new follower on TikTok commented that you they can see the Sonic the Hedgehog influence, and I just commented. I was like, yeah, I wear my Sonic influence on my sleeve because it was a lot of that was there, but I think there was a lot of Bugs Bunny too, down to the fact that you know even Rudy Wood Duck, his you know his red duck friend, they're basically a Bugs and Daffy duo, kind of done over, but from a political lens. Now, in the context of this comic, they're going to be kind of crime fighting buddies together in a sense. And like I said, you'll have to look forward to that. But that's kind of what it was. He ended up kind of being an amalgamation of my two of my favorite characters, and kind of just from there, it was like, okay, you've got the design, but how are you going to make this character actually be a character? And then it was like, okay, well, we just write, and so we try to write the best jokes that we could, and write the best gags, and make the best promo art, and now we're taking all that, and now we're actually putting a story behind it. So um, he was a rabbit from the beginning. This is the TLDR of all that.
Interesting. Yeah. That's good. And I'm glad to hear that Rudy Duck is coming back. He was always one of my favorite characters that you made. Let me ask you this. Is he still going to be a raging alcoholic?
I think at this point it would be kind of a disservice to take that away from him, to take that side away from him. But it won't be played up for jokes nearly as much as it would have back in the day. It'll just be kind of a casual side thing.
Yeah, I could see him
Um,
being like this sort of like brew monk, you know what I mean?
yeah,
um yeah, man, this is a good conversation. I'm happy that we're doing this. This is the first episode of Back to the Drawing Board. This is something that I want to keep doing with other people and other artists specifically. Um, I think it's good to showcase artists nowadays. I think that we see the drawings and we look at them for 2 seconds and we go, I like this or I don't like it on social media and things like that. But it's good to actually hear from the artists and see their perspective on things.
absolutely. You know, you pour over several interviews of the people that make your favorite comics. I've seen a few Brian Lee O'Malley interviews, looking at old Walt Disney stuff, the creators of various, because I follow my floppy collection is consisting mostly of licensed stuff. So looking at all those different artists for those different properties, seeing what they did to what was already established and putting their own vision on it is such a cool thing. So I definitely like what you're doing here. This is going to be fun. I look forward to watching a lot more and seeing who else is out there. That's going to be cool.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be focusing on different artists of all natures. I think the next guest is going to be more of like a Photoshop, manipulation type artist. And
That's
we
cool
have
too.
some
That's
other,
cool too.
painters that I've reached out to that might be interested in coming on. So it's going to be a cool thing. I hope to keep doing it. I think it's a good thing for the stream to showcase, especially on Kick. I really enjoy streaming on Kick, and I think the community's really great here, especially the art community. There's a lot of great artists that I've had the pleasure of meeting and working with on different projects. Um, so
Yeah,
let
man.
me ask you this. So
Yeah,
you were talking about Sonic. I know Sonic is that's your favorite game. You would say.
it's my favorite franchise. Just anything ever. I'm just autistic like that.
Is it your favorite? Well, let me ask you this: Are you an avid gamer? Do you game a lot?
No, actually, that's kind of the funny bit. Yeah, no, I don't really game all that much except when it comes to Sonic. Like I'll line up for the new Sonic release and play that, but outside of everything else, I moved out of my home, and my three little brothers, they were my gaming partners. When I lost my three little gaming partners, I was done. It was like, what else is there? Yeah, you can play online, but I don't know those people. I don't want to
Yeah.
play with them. Oh, it's like, you know.
I
So
the
yeah.
last well, not the last Sonic game I played, but recently I was replaying Sonic Adventure 2, and
Big
I got to the point where I had to do the what's the bat's name? The bat
Rouge.
Rouge. Yeah, I was doing the Rouge mission where you had to go into the fortress and you had to get the Chaos Emeralds, and you had like 3 minutes. And dude, that whole level is so scuffed. You literally have to have a perfect run every time to get it. Like you have to, and because every time the level restarts, they're always in a different spot. And so you have
Yeah,
to relearn it and you have to figure out how the doors open. But that's probably my favorite Sonic game. I think it's a good
it's
one.
pretty peak. It's pretty peak. It's pretty peak.
I think they got to bring
Definitely
back
the
the
fan
Chow
favorite.
Garden.
There's rumors that they're actually going to do that.
They should just
Actually,
make it
as a
its own
so
game.
that's what I heard. They're going to make it a standalone
Really?
game. What's heading down the rumor mill from what I hear.
Now that would be cool.
Facts, facts. I know a lot of people would play just that. I would hope that there'd be a Sonic adventure to go with that, but I think they're scared. I think they're scared at this point. They're like, we've made a lot of bullshit lately,
Yeah.
and I don't know if we could even replicate those physics properly or whatever. But Sonic Team did make Sonic Superstars, and that game had surprisingly great momentum, better momentum than Sonic 4, Sonic Generations, and stuff like that. And Sonic Generations is a great game. So I don't know. Maybe they can figure it out. Maybe they'll bring it back. I know there's been talk that they want to do that as well. So, like I said, I can go on about that stuff for hours, but this is about me, not Sonic. Shut up, Sega.
So just branching out, moving forward, do you plan on doing anything outside of Splat Rabbit? Do you do any sort of art commissions for people? What are some aspects on the business side of your art? Which I think it's a very lucrative business. I know that I've made not a lot of money, but I've made a decent amount of money making stuff for different streamers and things like that. I do a lot of emote work for them.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that you have your own sort of thing that you do. Not that you have to give all your secrets away, um, but just I think it would be good for the viewers and maybe somebody who's looking to get into art, maybe as a business, as a career, and like what are some things that this artist does?
Absolutely. So, yeah, first and foremost, the idea is to make the comics the main product. That is a selling point. So yes, there are other things that I do. There are other IPs and other stories that I do want to tell besides Splat. But outside of that, for now, yeah, it's pretty much commissions and stuff like that. I've had requests to do like Twitch emotes and stuff of that nature. Some people just want random one-off cartoons. Some people want to have even teased wanting to do full-on books and things of that nature. So um, some of those are kind of like in the talking phases and all that. But yeah, for the most part, it's been pretty solid. People just want their one-off drawings. They want this project done. I've even had been in talks to do a mural at a dispensary
Oh
not
wow,
too long ago. So that could be kind of cool. And
yeah,
yeah, I mean, the whole thing is just you got to put yourself out there. Art is a business where you're making crap that nobody asked for. And the key thing to making it as an artist is to have a name for yourself. So, the best thing you can do is just to get out there, shake the fear, shake the inhibition, and get out there and make some shit.
yeah. And that's good to hear. That makes me excited for your future because I know that you're a talented artist, and I think it's a
I
good
appreciate
thing
that.
that you're moving forward and you're adventuring into a new territory with your art because I think you might have pigeonholed yourself doing the political cartoons and things like that. And I think you can go further than that with and it sucks because at times we as artists we want to express our beliefs through our arts, but I even make music, and it's sometimes a hard thing to express exactly who I am in the song. Um,
Right.
but you got to think about who's listening. You got to be able to reach everybody where they're at.
Absolutely. And that's kind of the whole thing. And one thing that I wish that, our guys back over there in the manosphere, politosphere would understand is that you're never going to get by advocating for these things that have just become alien to most people. The best thing that you can do is find a way to package it and make it for everybody, not in a pandering sort of way, but in a this thing is awesome, check it out, and just let whoever comes to it, whether they're right, left, or center, you know, it's not about trying to push the Overton window because you will never do that. You're just never going to do it. Um, not with just little things on the internet, but maybe bit by bit as you perfect your craft and as you tell your stories, maybe your influence can help to change a heart, to change a mind, to make them consider things from a different angle. But you got to do it in a way that isn't LEL. Look at Hitler.
Yeah. No, exactly. I agree. It's we got to get back to a moment in time where making good content is what people are interested in. I think you hit the nail on the head with Hollywood and all of that. Like, there's just a lot of trash coming out nowadays, man. It's just these bogus
Pure Dookie
movies.
chips. Pure Dookie chips, my dude.
Yeah, just these bogus movies that are just they keep coming out with them. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have not seen. I've seen maybe 3 Marvel movies. 3. Because and my buddy's like, you gotta watch them all. You gotta watch them all, man. I'm like, why am I? First of all, I'm like 20 years too late, dude. I can't start watching all the Marvel movies now. By the time I'm 65 and ready to retire, I'll be done with them. And why do I need to watch them? You know, if I wanted to indulge in Marvel, I would read the comics. I would go back and find, even if I didn't buy them, I'd find PNG comics of the old school stuff.
Like, where your time is better spent, especially knowing where it eventually leads, post Endgame, post 2019. It's just no good. I'll give a personal vote of confidence to Guardians 3 just because I really love the previous 2 Guardians movies. It actually turned out okay. But outside of that, man, yeah, it's a zero sum game. We had a good thing while we had it. You had to be there, and if you weren't there, sorry, you just won't get it. You just won't get it. It's done,
Yeah.
and I don't think it's ever going to recover.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're right. I think as long as Hollywood keeps doing what they're doing, and whoever's in charge is calling these shots, I think we're just going to be in this weird time of making subpar, multi-billion-dollar content. But I think at the same time, that allows the opportunity for the viewer to make that decision of what they want to watch and allow really good independent artists and filmmakers and musicians, all of that nature, to really shine through, because people
Took
want
the
that
words
content.
right out
People
my mouth.
want genuine content.
Facts, facts. Yeah, there's a content. It's a content vacuum, man. And if people and even the normiest of the normie, the person that is just eating the slop, doing the typical thing and just trying to get by, has caught on to how desperate and terrible everything is. There's a content vacuum and a spot at the top. It's kind of funny. I was talking to a business friend IRL, and he was talking about, what did I mention? I think I mentioned what I said before, how I wanted to be the next Disney. And he basically told me, he was like, I mean, the throne's open, dude. You could run up there and claim it. I was like, don't gas me up, bro. Don't
I mean,
say
he's
that. Not
but the reality is he's not wrong.
yeah,
We see it all the time. I mean, have you seen? I was looking the other day. You know the Chick-fil-A girl? Have you seen that
yeah.
video?
Oh yeah, no
The
Chick-fil-A
girl,
sauce.
no Chick-fil-A thoth.
Yeah.
Dude, her page is literally in the millions now. Every single video that she posts is in the millions. I
Yep.
mean,
She, she rode the hell
that's
out of her 50
probably
minutes of
more
fame.
viewers than freaking Cartoon Network gets or anything, you know what I mean? But like imagine
Oh,
that as a
undoubtedly,
cartoon.
undoubtedly.
Imagine that as a
Yeah,
cartoon, like creating content that everybody wants to watch.
yeah. That's going to be the new wave, and they have seeded the way for people to get there. Now they're doing a pretty good job of censoring certain people that talk a certain way and getting the public to kind of like be like, yeah, yeah, but like that's kind of the thing, isn't it? It's like it's getting to a point now where even that is starting to be less effective because like you're saying this, but we have all this evidence of this, and we've seen what you've done here. So it kind of just sounds like you're bullshitting because you don't want him to eat out of the eat, live the good life. You don't want him or
Yeah.
her to advance and be better. Seems like you're just doing this to be petty to try and keep your standing when you're not doing shit. So it's yeah, they're kind of cannibalizing themselves with everything that they do. This whole Sweet
Yeah,
Baby Inc. thing, I don't know
that's
if you've looked into it, but that's crazy.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
The whole
What?
Sweet Baby Inc. thing with gaming.
No, explain a little bit.
So I'm not the expert. There's plenty of videos on this. Everyone's milking this content to death right now. But essentially, what we see is a complete hostile takeover from the inside from these commie ass um, firms that come in and dictate how the story should play out and how gameplay should go from a DEI leftist perspective. And it's what trashed Spider-Man 2. It's what trashed God of War Ragnarok. It's what trashed the recent Suicide Squad game. They're kind of like the big one, the one that everyone's talking about, Sweet Baby Inc. But
Interesting.
there's several firms. There's Black Girl Gamers and a couple of others that have just made it. It's like a literally a hostile takeover of these studios and gutting them from the inside. I'm
Yeah.
telling people, it's a bad sign whenever the original founders of a thing leave the project. When the original programmers for Rocksteady left, the people who made the Batman Arkham games, that should have been a sign. We didn't know it at the time, but we should have known. I was telling people for this Avatar: The Last Airbender thing on Netflix, the original creators left the project. That should tell you where this is going. And then it came out, everybody was like, what the heck was that? I was like, you should have seen it when the creators left. When the creators leave a project, that's a primary sign that there is some sort of comic gobbledygook task force that has been inserted into this thing. It's why John Lasseter got fired. I don't think John Lasseter actually did what they said he did. I think that
Yeah.
they just said that and smeared him because he was like the last bastion of the old guard at Disney. He was the one that they had to take out in order to actually get their shit published. Apparently, Raya and the Last Dragon had a lot of Lasseter on it, but they came in and gutted the whole thing and reworked it and made it to this kind of shit film that nobody talks about now. Nobody even remembers it. I only remember it because I remember watching it thinking, wow, this is hot garbage. And it's just been a wreck from there. And you see it with everything.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And
I
then,
mean, that's why as somebody who streams, I get a lot of people say like, "Oh, why aren't you playing this game? Why aren't you playing that game?" Um, and it's just because I try to first of all, games are expensive nowadays.
yeah,
And
yeah, it's
I
expensive
don't want to
money.
pay, $70 for something that I'm maybe going to play once or twice. Um,
Right.
but like I just played this game the other day. I don't know if you've seen this game. It's called Content Warning. Um,
Content warning. What's that about?
so it's a game where you play with three other people. All right, they could be your friends, they could be randos, and the whole point of the game is you have a camera, and you have to go into this. You take this diving thing, and you go into the underworld, and it's this like underworld like Stranger Things kind of place, and you have to
Oh, yeah.
film content. So you film viral videos like
Mm,
finding these monsters and stuff. And it's hilarious, dude. It's like it's not like a horror game at all. It's like it's a funny game. But it's made by an
yeah.
indie company, and it's dude, this game is I think this game's going to be huge. I think it's going to be like the next big thing. I mean, we just
Oh,
saw
wow.
that also with Pal World. I don't know if you know what that is,
Yeah, I
but
know what Power World is.
yeah, so I mean, Pal World is pretty much just Pokemon, and it's really just taken the world by storm. I mean, it's I think it was the most downloaded game on Steam like 3 days in on
Yeah.
release. It beat Counter Strike, which is
Yeah.
insane in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's totally insane, and for it to be this like blatant Pokemon clone, it just shows that people will try it out because it's actually fun and doesn't talk down to them.
And you're exactly right. And it's the story behind Power World is actually just so crazy. You really got to look it up. But it's like, long story short, is like it was two guys that they wanted to make a game. They they had a game studio, very small game studio, and they used to go to this convenience store like across the street. And the kid that was working there would like draw and stuff. And they ended up hiring the kid to do the art for the characters, all the pals,
The
like a
pals.
17-year-old kid. They just
Let
like
him
hired
cook.
him. Isn't that crazy? But it's like I
No,
think it could be a good movie, honestly. The whole story of how the game developed and all of that.
well, time will tell, things, and that's kind of the other thing too that's going to be interesting with all this to finally see stuff that actually stands the test of time. We're kind of, well, I'm not exactly sure how old you are. I know you have a wife that you
I'm
talk about and everything
29.
like that. You're 29. Okay, so you're a couple years older than me, but not much. Um, so we're getting into a time where we're beginning to see the stuff that we grew up with, um, standing the test of time and being here. For example, Hey Ya by Outkast is a classic now. It's like an oldie now. The kids play it. It's like, oh, this is awesome. This is like 20 years old. It's amazing. Meanwhile, Who Let the Dogs Out is rotting in the early 2000s. Nobody's playing that shit
Yeah,
anymore, except me because I'm
that's a good
autistic
song.
like that. But we're starting to see what stands the test of time. So it's going to be interesting to see this kind of era where Hollywood has just completely given up and isn't trying to get better, and seeing what indie projects and what creators are going to really rise to the top, and what's going to be like the new classics in a few years.
Yeah, I totally agree. And just like as a somebody who's now a new father, um, I I wonder myself, like, where is the things like cartoons going to go? Because I know the cartoons that I liked watching when I grew up. I watched Courage the Cowardly Dog, Ed and Eddie, pretty much all Cartoon Network in the late '90s, early 2000s. Um, I didn't know what Nickelodeon was until like a little bit later. I just knew what
Wow.
Cartoon Network was on. But
Yeah.
I wonder like what's going to be available to my daughter, because I look at Coco Melon and we don't let her watch any of that stuff because it's like just cringe.
Yeah.
Wide eyes and just weird songs. But like
Yeah. Just meant to captivate.
everything's this weird digital 3D animation like Jimmy Neutron style but like way worse. Um what do you think about like regular 2D animation, do you think that it's moving in a better direction now, or do you think that it's going to continue to be on this decline? Because I watch Cartoon Network shows now. Like I've watched Steven Universe. I like Steven Universe. I think it tries to push a message way too hard, which
Yeah.
is unappealing to me now as a father because I don't necessarily want my child to be indoctrinated with a message that I don't necessarily agree with or think is necessary to be shown during a cartoon. So
Right.
do you think cartoons are going to be on an upswing towards just being better content?
In the indie space, probably, and that's one area that hasn't really been addressed amongst this. It's always the family stuff or like the hard line, like adult stuff that's like bought into scrutiny and what's seen the most development and the most talk, when it comes to all that. What about like the TV cartoons and things of that nature? When are we going to get another SpongeBob moment where a cartoon like reaches across the aisle and inspires both child and parent to laugh and to, love and everything like that? um I don't know if there is anything right now in the space, at least not from what I've heard, that is going to rise to that occasion yet. But I do think that the way that things are going, we will see more of that stuff begin to kind of bubble up here with the rest of the year and moving into the rest of the 2020s.
Yeah.
Granted that the world doesn't implode on itself from all the crap going on in it, we should be able to see some truly legendary titles come up that will entertain and not just entertain, but even inspire the youth to do something better, to think a little differently, to or even just to have fun. I mean, my gosh, I mean, the probably excuse me again, I was sick. Um, Probably the best example of something to come out that actually was pretty good and inspired kids to laugh and use their imagination a little bit more was Bluey.
Yeah,
I
that
know
is a good show.
yeah, it actually reached across the aisle. The parents can watch it and not feel completely nauseated, and the kids watch it and they love it, and it's selling like hotcakes because there's nothing else. Not trying to rag on Bluey. I think I myself think it's a pretty good children's show myself, but it caught on like it did because it's so well made, because it's got people behind it that actually care about telling little stories to make the kids giggle and to make the adults not just there's some moments in there that are straight up for the parents,
Yeah.
like whole segments that are just for the parents, and it's like that's good because the parents don't have really that much going on for them either in their entertainment. So to be able to sit down with your kid and watch this silly blue dog show and have them speak to you as well, I think that's a great thing. I think that that's a wonderful thing. So it's going to definitely be interesting to see the. It's going to be interesting to see the people crop up and actually make stuff that's going to go, and hopefully, Splatddycomix will be one of those things that helps out.
Amen, brother. Amen. I'm hoping for that for you too. Um, one more thing I want to touch it on before we decide to wrap it up here is
Sure.
adult animation and adult cartoons. Um, I want to know your opinion if there's any that you think are good. Um, where do you think that genre is going?
I think I used to be a big Adult Swim fan. Whenever I was in college and kind of just outside of it, it's kind of dwindled since I've not had cable. But I think that it really just depends on the vibe they're going for. I think that if you want to just be the silly stoner show, then you should absolutely go for it. I've got a few IPs in my arsenal that are like that do have a lot of inspiration from shows like The Brack Show and Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and even to a small extent Ren and Stimpy, which was definitely not for children, but it was on the kids' network anyway. Excuse me, excuse me. But other than that, I mean, it doesn't necessarily even have to be that crazy. It can be something that's slice of life. It could be something that's more narrative driven, like Primal that came out. That was just a
Hmm.
uh, brutal piece of animation about prehistoric times and dinosaurs and ape monsters and cavemen, and it was cool. Um, I think I think adult animation is pretty much fine for the most part from what I've seen. Um, but at the same time, it's just like anything else. You have a show that's led by the same shitbags that make the other stuff or who support people who do that other stuff. And even though, sure, you may like their show and they make a good show, I mean, when you go to get inspiration from them, check them out, buy some of their stuff, it's like, do I really want to support this clown because he's just as clownish as all the others? I think we need to find some. I think the whole thing is that genuine people need to just be genuine, or if you're not genuine, at least try to do your best to appear that way. Because this whole like virtue signaling Hollywood type archetype is just played out. Nobody's
Yeah.
going for it anymore. Stop all the political pandering, stop all the silliness, and just be a human being that makes art for people to check out and enjoy and not think about how crappy and bleak everything is for a few seconds of their lives, a few hours maybe of their lives.
I totally agree. One show that I think does this really well in the adult animation sphere is Smiling Friends. Have you seen that show?
I've seen Smiling Friends, really good stuff, really good
I
stuff.
agree. I think it's one of the better shows. I think it really captures humor in a very unique way that isn't really shown in cartoons nowadays. And even the
Mhm.
animation style of it, I think, is very crude and very basic, but it definitely tells it adds to the humor, I think.
The absurdity of it all, you know.
Yes.
I love it. It was a really good watch, and it's been a while since I watched that first season. I probably need to go and check it out again if I
Yeah, they have
can. Of
season
course.
2 is coming out soon. Season 2 is coming
Yeah,
out.
I saw that. I saw that teaser for their April Fool's thing, which Adult Swim's April Fool's jokes aren't even April Fool's jokes anymore. Hardly.
Yeah.
They're just teasers for the next big thing that's coming out for them.
Well,
But yeah, so
this has been a lot of fun, Splat. I'm very happy that we finally got this interview going. I know we've talked about it in the past, doing stuff, but I think, all good things come with time. And I
absolutely.
just really want to thank you for being the first guest on Back to the Drawing Board with Goldenboybrian, live here on kick.com/Goldenboybrian. Before you go, I'd like you to plug your socials as well as what you got coming. Let the people know.
All right, sure will. Well, first of all, I thank you again for this opportunity, and I hope the show gets big, and I hope to be back again sometime. It's going to be fun. But Splat Daddy Comics, you can see new entertaining things. Right now, working on the Splat Rabbit stuff. Splat Rabbit Moves Forward is out right now. It's available to read right now. You can go to Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I'm probably going to put it on DeviantArt this weekend. Why not? We're going to put it everywhere. And we got physical copies coming out soon. And if you like that, stay tuned. Show your support, show your love, commission something because there is a bigger story and a big main story. It's just the pilot. So if you like what you see there, check it out. Splat Daddy Comics. That's Splat DDY Comics with an X on the end to be all cool and edgy. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and like I said, if you haven't had DeviantArt, go ahead. Why not? I'm there too. So check it out. I hope you enjoy. I hope that it's entertaining for you, and I hope you interact with it because that's what we're here for. Splat Daddy draws for you.
All right. I love that. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the first episode of Back to the Drawing Board with Goldenboybrian. We'll see you guys next time.